Hello, everyone. It's Stacia and Kirstin, and guess what? Stacia and Kirstin are back. All right, woo!
We're
Super excited.
back!
Back.
Yeah, super excited to be back. It's been way too long.
It's been a little bit of time. It's been like 7, 8 months. So, but yeah, everyone, welcome to Across the Pond, Liberty. I'm Stacia.
And I'm Kirsten.
All right, and we are back to bring you all the WNBA info about the New York Liberty, and we are super excited, despite the fact that the beginning of the year made us both sad, even though we knew it was coming. That our two favorite players are no longer with the Liberty. Mine being Big Mama Steph Dolson, and yours being the magician,
Marine Johannes.
Marie.
The
Oh
wizard.
gosh, so we're magician. She's a wizard. She's just yeah. So we're sad about that, and so we missed that friendship already on the team. But we can't do anything about it except be sad.
Yeah, precisely. I'm absolutely gutted. I'm heartbroken, and the season it's not going to be the same. It's not going to hit the same without our little duo on the team. But it was cool to see them both playing in Lyon together. At least we kind of got those little snippets as a final send off. But absolutely gutted. I can't lie.
Yeah. I was like, yeah, Kirsten has more of access to see them playing together over in Europe, which is great.
Yeah.
Um, I just flips and just laugh at it just to see Steph dancing and just making Marine as uncomfortable as possible. But to start off the year, we're gonna go over who we have that is new on the team this year. We've got Kennedy Burke, who came over, she played at Seattle last year. Ivan Jokic also played at Seattle. Leone Ibic, who was on the Sparks team last year, didn't play much. And then we've got the only rookie, the draftee, our first round draft pick, Markeisha Davis, who came from Ole Miss, is on the team. And then Jocelyn Willoughby is gone, along with Steph Dolson and Marine. And Epiphany Prince, who was on the team a little bit and was kind of in the sidelines, is now has an office spot to be with the team. So I'm happy that Epiphany Prince is still there. But core is still around. We've got Sabrina, JJ, Jonquel, Benijah, who now has put her husband's name on it, which is her name, Benijah Laney Hamilton. So we got a BLH on there. Yara Sably, Stewie, Kayla Thornton, and Courtney Vandersloot rounds out the Liberty for this year. No changes on the coaching staff. So, that's good. We got our husband wife duo. I've got Renika. And so I'm still excited. The core's there. We'll see what happens with the rest of the team if they get some more playing time. But yeah, we're still gonna miss Marine and stuff.
Oh yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah,
Absolutely. I think it's really good for our team in particular that we've kept our solid starters and also Gil Thornton and Yara Sabali. But yeah, it's a sore one. I really enjoyed the season because last season because I think Marine and like Mama Steph in particular brought such a vibe to the team and made it just that bit more entertaining. So I want to kind of see if how this works this season. If there's any players that are going to start, being the team vibe, because I know that was like particularly a big role for Big Mama Steph. So we'll see. We'll see how this goes.
she's a vibe. I'm happy though that she's in Washington. She's gonna play more. So that makes me happy. And they got a young team, so she can be a leader there. Besides just being a dance leader, because Big Mama Steph is so the best dancer in the WNBA. I mean, that's not true, but she may dance the most out of everyone in the W. Um, also, a bit of news before we get going on more Liberty stuff. I continuously said last year that I wanted to see the Atlanta Dream documentary, and it is actually happening. So, hashtag Dream documentary is a real thing, and I texted Kirsten how great this is, and I literally texted her and I said, "I told you about what is happening with the Dream documentary. It's called Power of the Dream." Sue Bird revealed that it's coming to Amazon Prime Video on June 18th. So it was happening. So happy. So happy, not only just for me to be validated about how good of a story this, was, but the fact that it is being made, and of course, it's in another election year, which is also important, which is kind of the point of doing this, in an election year here in America, so that is good job on Sue, good job on the Dream for everything that they did to make this happen, and the W for backing them, so Dream documentary, Power of the Dream, not an advertisement for Amazon Prime, but it's coming to Prime on June 18th. So ex-
This is like
that's it. Yeah,
the theory that The Simpsons predicts the future. This is like that, but
I do. 'Cause
Stacia
I
predicts
was alive
the
when
Dream
the Simpsons
documentary.
actually happened, so I know a lot about the Simpsons. You know, yeah, yeah, I do. I'm just gonna say that I was alive when it aired. Yeah.
Damn.
Oh yeah, they predict it.
I
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
this is our version of The Simpsons predicting the future. We are predicting
I'm
the future of documentaries.
I'm the Simpsons. Oh, that's
You
maybe the
are.
greatest compliment I've ever heard in my life. Now, here's a fun fact that you're gonna laugh at so much. Okay. So my mom, when we were shopping one time, I believe we had the cassette and then I found a CD. So for those of you that don't know what a cassette is, just look it up. Um, Especially because we're coming through on a podcast, so you're listening on your phone. So I mean, exactly. Yeah,
Yeah.
look it up. But my mom found a Simpsons Sing the Blues album of like the Simpsons actually singing that with like jazz blues musicians, and it was pretty good and like the music was. And then I found the CD when I was older, and I think I still have it because I still have kept my CDs because it's such a weird CD. But there's like a really good one where like Lisa plays her saxophone because Lisa plays the saxophone in The Simpsons. And I had no idea that this podcast was going to talk about The Simpsons today, but I'm so happy we're there.
Me too. That's wild. Do
But yeah,
you
so
so
that
you
just tells
still
you how
have
old I
it?
am. I think I do because I moved and I think it was in like thing, but I have to actually get out a CD player that I have because I think I have one left, and I love Batman, so I like have like a Batman boombox that my mom got me because my mom buys me Batman stuff all the time. So I'm not kidding. I have hundreds of
I love
Batman
it. I
things.
love it.
So I mean, it's literally above my head. That's a Batman shelf up
Yeah, I
there.
was gonna
Sorry
say
for
I can
everyone.
see it.
It's always around. Trust me. Ask all my friends. They're like, it's ridiculous. If I die, I send all my friends a Batman thing. I'll send you a mug or something. Yeah,
Please, yeah,
yeah,
please.
do that. Yeah, they're all getting a Batman thing to remind themselves of me. All right. So, dream documentary. That's a nice little segue that we went off there, but hey, this is what podcasts are, just nice conversations.
Yeah.
Getting back to the Liberty. So, the Liberty this year started off 4-0 after having 2 preseason games where their first preseason game was the scariest I've ever felt for the Liberty, getting beat by 48 points. I did
Yeah.
not know what to think at all, and I remember just being like, "Oh my gosh, how is this my team?" Kind of that was my mindset, and then they go and beat the Sun by 3, so I'm like, "Okay, there they are," but they always seem to beat the Sun. And then first game of the year, they play the Mystics, and then they get down by 8 going into the 4th quarter, and I was like, "The Mystics aren't supposed to be that good this year. What is happening? What? What?
Yeah.
Who? Who are you?" Those are all my thoughts. And then they came back and outscored the Mystics 26-13 to win by 5. And so like, good on them for putting it together, but, we talked about you talked about the core being there, so I'm like, "Oh, we're gonna have the chemistry is gonna be there," unlike last year when it was, like, getting back getting everybody together and new grouping, and so I was like, "Oh, the chemistry is gonna be there compared to other teams," and then it didn't seem to be there until the 4th quarter, but hey, they finished it, that's all we need to do. But yeah, scary right out the gate.
Yeah, that's the kind of the conclusion is that, you know what, they did it and they still made it, but that game was nerve-wracking for sure. Especially we spoke briefly before we started recording, but like Stewie in that game, just not a great start to the season for her. 8 points, 8 rebounds. But Jonquil Jones pulling through with that 25 points, 8 rebounds, and Laney Hamilton having a great game as well. 20 points, 4 rebounds, 2 assists. So yeah, it was definitely a shaky a shaky game, but pulling it back in the fourth quarter always provides the entertainment. So
Yeah, and I hammered him last year about getting the turnovers down, and we did like season for the season. We did like first quarter, second quarter, third and fourth, and then we did like overtimes the postseason, and it continuously got better with like less turnovers and more assists, and that's where they're struggling with because there's a higher amount of turnovers this season. I think it's like 2.1 more, and there's less assists. So that assist to turnover gap is closer. And I'm like, that's going to cost the games because they want to get out and shoot. So they have a lot of quick possessions. So sometimes if you don't make that quick three, that's almost like a turnover because you're just giving the ball right back. And so then if you actually have turnovers, especially live ball turnovers, which I feel like is happening in the games that they lost, which we'll get to, that's where I'm going to get scared. That's where I'm going to get scared. So, yeah.
yeah,
And we're,
yeah, I think that
yeah.
was one of our biggest points last season was the turnovers, and I must say, like looking at the stats and seeing the games, turnovers has been such a big issue right at the start of the season. So hopefully, as the season goes on, we can kind of nip that in the bud. But it's I feel like teams tend to they go back to their old habits, and I think this is one of them. That yeah,
Just gotta break it. Gotta break this habit. All right. So that's us talking about a win over the Mystics. And for some reason, the Mystics are always scary, even though the Mystics statistically are the worst team in the W at 0-6 right now, I
yeah,
believe. All their losses, the Mystics' losses are by single digits, so they're not out of games. So I still think that they'll be in there because they've had some injuries. And you and I both said that we like the Mystics, and it hasn't changed. And I have to like the Mystics because Steph's on the team now. So
of course.
like even more. So next game, and I said this last year that I thought they were going to lose to the Mystics, and then because the Fever were young, that they were going to like punch the Fever in the mouth. And so this year, escape with the win over the Mystics, and then what they do, they punch the Fever in the mouth, and then give them like
Yeah,
kicking the gut for their second game of the
yeah,
year, winning
they just kept
2 to
going.
66. It was brutal, but also
Yeah,
awesome. Oh
yeah.
gosh, so much fun.
Yeah, it
What?
was
Oh,
just a crazy score to end the game on. 102 to 66 to the New York Liberty. Yeah, just you really blown them out
it's
of
the
the water,
first home
and
game.
especially
Oh,
yeah. Oh, that's a tough one. That's a
welcome.
tough pill to swallow. Welcome to the W, like
Yep,
welcome.
welcome.
Yeah, and as you can imagine, all the media headlines are Caitlin Clark, Caitlin Clark, Caitlin Clark, just absolutely going at her basically for this stat line, which is unfortunate. But yeah, blew them out of the water.
Yep, it was. I mean, and then you always talk about the third quarter. That's the only quarter that the Liberty lost. They lost by 6, 19 to 25. But you really can't say anything else when in the fourth quarter they outscore them 35 to 10 just to hammer the point home. And be like,
Yeah.
hi, Indianapolis, to all the fans. This is the show you get. You wanted a show. Your team's not the show. We're the show right now.
Yeah, tough. It was a
Oh
tough
gosh.
game.
Yep.
But on that point about Stewie as well, she didn't have a great first game of the season, but man, did she come out in that game. 31 points with 10 rebounds and 4 assists and 3 steals. Damn. She went off in that game.
Yeah.
Stewie,
It
yeah.
was last year. Last year she had 45 against him in the second game of the year and like barely played in the fourth quarter. And it was just
Yeah.
again, just what's up? Like
Yeah.
so then we get the replay of the Fever and the Liberty, and I just want to say that whatever when it's like when the Fever got the number one pick and everyone knew that they're going to pick Caitlin, even though she hadn't declared yet, but we all knew she was going. It's like the W was like, we're going to give you the hardest schedule in the first 8 games of your life to start off. So I also just feel bad for the Fever. They played Connecticut twice, the Liberty twice. They played the Aces. Like, give them a break. They also
Yeah. Let them
went
breathe.
from Indianapolis to Seattle and then LA and then Vegas. So then you're going across, from the Midwest out there. So that is a rough stretch of games to also say, welcome to the W. So that, that just, Who decided that? Like, that's so bad. It's so bad. You play the 3 best teams in the
Yeah,
league from last year is start off your season? Have fun. Ugh,
yeah.
but
I suppose,
uh,
only way is up though.
that's true. I mean, they're not gonna have anything that's gonna be tougher than that opening part of the schedule,
Yeah,
and then they'll get July to recover with the
yeah,
Olympics. Alright, so 3rd game of the year. Again, now the Fever are in New York, so for the home opener, they bust out 33 points in the opening quarter, end up, having a great first half. Indiana outscores them in the second half by 9, but, they still win by 11. They were up by 20 at halftime, win 91-80. Um, Caitlin had a better shooting game for the Fever, which we were just kind of, like, waiting for her to shoot a little bit better. Stewie, again, doesn't like, thinks that the Fever are just so sad that she just decides to shoot as good as she can again and has 24 points, shooting 50%, and then 100% from the free throw line, just because, welcome to the W again. Stewie, if we had Stewie versus the Fever all the time, no one would ever have a chance at MVP. If it was just Stewie versus the Fever for every,
yeah.
I mean, that's. I want to go back in her Storm games and to be like, how did you play against the Fever when you were with Seattle? Because if it's the same where you just always play your best against one team, I'm very curious. JJ led the team in assists and had 12 boards. She had 5 assists and 12 boards and just controlled the Fever. And yeah, just looking good, but it's still the Fever figured it out. And you had like the vets versus the youngins. Um, but yeah, there was really no chance for the Fever in this one too for New York's home opener.
Yeah, no, another great win. It's crazy though to go from that 102 to 66 to then only winning 91 to 80. Like it's very interesting to consider in such a short time period as well. Like what switches must have been made, what must have changed for the Fever in that space of 24 hours to change the score so significantly. It's just so interesting to see the games being played so close together and to for the score to be so significantly different. But it's
Well,
just yeah, it's just so it's kind of speaks to how like I mean, there's a reason that we have playoff series instead of just playing like individual games because one game doesn't necessarily reflect your team's potential. So I also think like just really good on Indiana to come back from 102 to 66. That's almost a 40-point deficit. To
yeah.
only lose by 11. Like fair play to them.
Yeah, good on them. One thing that is interesting though is the Fever. I think the biggest thing is or the Liberty. So Liberty had that 35-point fourth quarter in that first game against the Fever, and that was just like the biggest thing. Even though because in the second game, Sabrina was on. It's like her only game when she's been on this year, um, and because the Liberty scored more in the first half than they did in the 102-point game. They just didn't score as much in the second half because I don't think they
Mm.
needed to. But Indiana stayed in it and kind of like fought like they're not giving up even though they're down 20 at halftime. So that's, like I said, good on them, but they're young. They have to do that. And another point I'm going to make about Indiana is that Leah Boston got the chance to ask her some interview questions last year, like good old Zoom. Always just seems like the sweetest, happiest go lucky person and has been not necessarily in fights, but has not been taking any crap from anybody this year and anytime she gets pushed and she doesn't like it, she is pushing back. And it's something I talked about with my friend Marty, and she's like, "Oh, she did it in a preseason game too against I think Tina Charles from Atlanta." So the Leah Boston is not taking anyone's crap and is ready to like, I think like shed a different persona. Also,
Yeah.
because of Caitlin, I feel like teams are going at Indiana even harder this year, and so Aaliyah's just not putting up with it, which makes me so happy because people have because all the attention's been on Indiana with Caitlin. So I'm happy that anything that is happening, Aaliyah's just like standing up for it more and attacking. I don't know, it's just a different mentality that they have to have. So I even think that mentality is a growth. And it's not like I want people to fight, but it's just a different kind of like edge, kind of the way that, and we're going to get to them, kind of the way that I think Chicago is this year. But yeah,
Mm.
no. What do you think about Aaliyah Boston pushing people around more than she did last
So
year?
I heard uh there was an interview with Aaliyah Boston just recently in the past like 2 weeks maybe, where she said she's actually taken herself off social media, because she's been getting so much, like, not abuse, but so many, like, deflective, shots kinda fired at her that are aimed at Caitlyn, like, it's like everybody in the Fever team is just getting this wave effect of criticism just because Caitlyn's now, like, the face of this team. Everyone else is being so significantly affected by it that, Aaliyah was just kinda like, "I don't have time for this." She's, like, taking herself off social media so she stops seeing all this criticism, stops seeing everyone kinda, like, just hating on the Fever or having, like, a go at the Fever for whatever. Um, I've seen she's still been, like, posting, but I imagine she's got someone, like, running her pages for her. But I thought that was really interesting, and I really respected it as well. I think it just speaks to exactly what you were saying is, like, she's got this different kinda mentality about her. I think it's taken having all the spotlight put on her, put on the team, and having this huge weight on their shoulders this year to just shake that off and say, "You know what? Like, you guys are gonna think what you're gonna think, you're gonna say what you're gonna say, but I'm here to play, and I'm gonna pay no mind to it." I think that takes a very strong-minded player, and creds to her.
Well, and that's just, I think, another aspect of, I think, like the college teams that are very good. I think that they have extra media training compared to other ones, and that kind of goes with what this too far. This lady said in Pat Summitt's book. She said that she made sure to get extra media training because Tennessee was so in spotlight for all those years before we had social media. So, see, that's something that I didn't know. So I love just popping in about something about the Fever, and then you have the extra, the more and more insight on it to make sure that to give us more info on Aaliyah and how good that is, because that's just smart and that's good because then everything is just within the team and what it needs to be to get better. So I love that. I love that. So all
Yeah.
right. So fourth game of the season, we've got, oh gosh, our one of our favorite teams from the years playing Seattle, who's a new look team with Skylar and NECA, and they got Jewel there, so they have the potential to do something very good this year. They've got a lot of a lot of all-star years amongst them with Jewel and now Skylar Diggins-Smith and Nneka Ogwumike there, and then Ezzy Magbor still. Yeah, she's only like what 23, and she's been in the league 4 years. She's one of the last teenagers to be in the league. Yeah, and that's a fun fact. I was bored today, and so I counted how many 30-year-olds are in the league. There are 37, 30 and above in the league, and one 40
Wow.
plus player. So it's about, what is it? It's a little over 25% of the league are 30 and above. And of course, you've got that lone, 41-year-olds that we all know. Um, but yeah, it's a young league. So you've got Jules 30, Skylar's 33, I think NECA's 33. So you've got a few years to bring another title back to Seattle, I think, before it may elude them. But you never know because DeWanna Bonner's 36 and still killing it. And Tarazi's having as good of a start to a season as I've seen in years. So, oh gosh, we're gonna have to talk about Phoenix at some point, and they're looking scary
Yeah.
right now. But
Yeah.
anyways, the Liberty go
It's
go 4-0, beating Seattle 74-63. I was watching this game, and Liberty had a great first quarter, up 27-15, and then I stopped watching the second quarter because both teams were awful. That's all I can say. 9 points
yeah.
for each team in the second quarter. I was just like, "What is this crap?" It's not what I said,
Yeah.
but we keep this pretty PG here. But I was like, "I'll pick up in the third quarter," because I think it was like 5 minutes into the second quarter, and I was like, "I know I couldn't make a shot, but it's one of those dumb things that you think in your head. Like, I could
Yeah.
score."
Oh,
That's
yeah.
how badly it was where no one was scoring. And I just want to throw this out here. I know I would not even be close to making any kind of shots in this. That is just how I felt watching it. There's no way either of us would make any shots at any point against anyone, even if they didn't guard us, because I would be so nervous. But I felt like I
Yeah.
could in that second quarter. It was, ugh. Neither team scores in the double digits. But anyway, Liberty only lost the fourth quarter 18-14, win by 11. Sabrina has 20 points. Stewie has 11 boards. Sabrina has 8 assists. I mean, this is one of those where they come off scoring a lot against Indiana and they don't score, but they still win because surprisingly, defensively, they were pretty good. Because I mean, against Indiana in that first game, you could say they were good or they just scored and Indiana was overwhelmed. But this is a good defensive game for them. So that made me happy at least.
Yeah, yeah, no, I on your point, just the second quarter, I find that insane. I find that insane. 9 and 9. But yeah, brought it back in we had a good third quarter on that point. Um, I always have to talk about my third quarter because I do think that it's a very crucial moment in the game. But 24-21 in the third, and then only 14 points in the fourth. I still, yeah, I think it was another kind of like slow game that at points was a bit frustrating to watch. But it was the first kind of like kind of game where our starters stats more or less were starting to feel a bit more comfortable. Bar like with the exception of Vandersloot, she didn't have a very great game. She didn't score any points. She had 3 turnovers and only 4 assists. So hopefully we can kind of like find that balance again. It does tend to be the point though. Like we have so many strong players on our starters that there tends to be one player that doesn't get that shine that day. But it would be nice to kind of start finding that balance again because I feel like we got to that point last season.
Yeah, it was if everybody can put up double digits, it's going to be dangerous. But then we got Kayla Thornton hasn't really scored, I think, the way that she can this year. And last year between her and Marie, and just depending on the game, they were, sometimes she was sixth player off the bench, sometimes she was seventh. This year she's obviously the sixth player off the bench, and so it's not just energy. We need scoring from Kayla,
Mhm.
and so I want to see that happening soon. But yeah, nine points in the second quarter, 14 in the fourth quarter, which means in the first and third quarters scored more points than the second and fourth quarter combined. Like,
Yeah.
that is no, just a hard
Yeah.
no. Hard no.
Yeah.
But it's a win, and we're so critical of everything, so but, yeah, it's
Yeah.
a win.
I feel
Hey,
like you need to be though, like you need to be honest. And especially when you're following a team so closely, like it's hard to just sit and say all the positives when the reality is like you are watching the game, like just give me the ball at this rate at some point. So,
yeah.
you know,
I mean, if
honesty is the best
if you're
policy.
watching this yeah, if you're watching this on YouTube, the other person to give the ball to is the mascot behind our faces, Ellie, because she will never disappoint. That is
Never.
the greatest mascot in W, to the point where she has her own Instagram page and is just pure fire. I don't know, I mean, she dances with Little Kim at halftime. She is pure entertainment. She entertained people at the WNBA draft because that's who she is. She could have scored in that game, especially the second
She's
quarter.
yeah, she's a queen. Her and Steph were they obviously have been practicing together, so well before
That's
Steph
true.
left.
Thank you for that. Yeah. Just like
Yeah.
the dancing queens. I mean, she does have a crown in her head, but yeah,
Yeah.
it's insane. Alright, so then first loss of the season, lose to Chicago 90-81. They're in this game. Chicago is just fast. And this is one reason why I was looking up besides the boredom. I was not looking up. I just moved my headphones and I look like Princess Leia right now with a bump on my hair. So, because my hair is just sitting there. Okay, so I was looking up the ages because I was kind of thinking about Chicago. They're very young and they're very good. And then I also looked at the Lynx ages, and we're going to get to that too. But they are young and not necessarily rookies because Camila Cardoso's out and Angel's in there. But these are young players that have had a couple years experience in the league, and some of them like 4 or 5. And they've revamped their team. They have a new coach. They are tenacious. They want to run. They are definitely not afraid of anybody. Um, just, I think that they are going to make it to the playoffs this year again. despite like a complete revamping they did last year. The only thing that I'm kind of like upset with Chicago is they got rid of their best player and Kalia Copper to go to Phoenix, and man, what a season she's having right now. Um,
Mhm.
but but they're in it. And Marina Mabry in that first quarter was making threes. She was the leading scorer with 21 points. She's also someone that has continuously gotten better each year and is one of the most dangerous 3-point shooters and someone that wants to fight somebody, like not actually, but is always ready to go. Um, and Kennedy Carter's having a good year, which I'm so happy about because she has so much potential. Dana Evans was behind point guard for Sloot for a little bit and is now kind of running it. They are just an interesting bunch. They only have two 30-year-olds on their team. It's Isabel Harrison, who's hurt, and Elizabeth Williams, who has just playing very well and she's a very reserved person, but is defensively one of the is so good. And the Libs have a horrible second quarter and get down 19 to lose 19 to 11 after a tied first quarter, and then just can't come back. They they outscored them in the third quarter, and then Chicago wins the last quarter. And it's just I think it was just Chicago wanted it more and was running and had more energy than the Liberty. I mean, it wasn't losing by almost 50 like the preseason, but obviously
Oof,
Chicago wasn't
yeah.
gonna be scared after that preseason game. And so hand the Liberty their first loss, and I don't know, Chicago's one of those that I don't think's ever gonna be out of a game this year. That's my thoughts on them. Um, and that's their attitude.
Yeah.
I'm personally like I'm kind of like in on Chicago this year, and I'll tell you the other team I'm in on that we're gonna talk about in a second. But yeah, I'm in on Chicago. I'm liking them a lot.
Yeah, I think it's just exactly what you're saying. It's a young team who are just hungry to win and to prove themselves. I think Angel Reese is a perfect fit mentality wise for this team. She just brings that. It's like a dog mentality. That's how I would describe the way Chicago have been playing. Like they're just hustle players, and sometimes just mentality alone will trump you over experience, over better teams, better players. Like it's such an important aspect of the game, and I think so far Chicago have really, really like shone above a lot of other teams on that basis. I absolutely think they are playoff contenders this year. I think it takes fight to be playoff contenders, not just talented, not just experience. Like you can throw experience out the window if you don't have the mentality, if you're not gelling with your team. And I think it was evident from this game as well that they were quite gelled together. I mean, they only had nine turnovers in comparison to what the Liberty have been having this season. Like
Yep.
they were just a lot
A
more
young
concise and
Yeah.
yeah.
A young team with 9 turnovers? Are you kidding me?
Yeah.
I mean, and then, I think that's one of the I believe Sandy was a point guard. You know, we know Teaspoon, Teresa Weatherspoon, coach of Chicago, is a point guard, so that has to be one of those, like, points of commitment and control is to limit the turnovers, and Chicago just did great with that. And I find it interesting because Mabry sometimes runs point even though she's a shooting guard, and then Dana Evans and Mabry. When everybody got hurt the year that Notre Dame won the national championship, Mabry had to switch to a point guard, which was horrendous. She was so bad like the first few games, and then became the point guard because Enrique was a shooting guard, and then Jackie Young was younger and was like a three. And then in the national championship game that they won, I think Mabry had like 10 turnovers in the first half of the game. I'm not kidding on that. I believe that's a real statistic. And the fact that she's running point in a WNBA team and they have 9 turnovers in a whole game, that and I know it's her and Dana, but I just kind of like laugh at that, like the evolution of her over the past like 6 years. Um, and then yeah, Liz Williams, I'm liking her, and uh, Brianna Turner, another Notre Dame player that is doesn't show up on the stat sheet, but as a person is always like in like kind of like leadership roles off the court of like all the WNBA kind of like social justice areas
Mhm.
of the league, all the committees, and she's also someone to follow on Twitter or X just all her comments are very insightful and very smart. So you have a young team, and then you have someone that's level-headed to be like on the bench or in the game or in practice. Those are things that with her and Elizabeth Williams, I feel are going to be like huge guides for everybody going forward. So I am, yeah, I'm the Chicago team. That'll be an interesting one. We'll see what happens with them. But yeah, look out for Chicago. Hang in there. If they can keep those turnovers down and shoot well, they're gonna be dangerous because yeah. And then when Cardosa comes back, good luck on the rebounds, as her and Angel
Oh,
said
yeah.
during the draft. It's gonna be hard to rebound against us. All right. So the latest game after 4 straight wins, 2 straight losses, and Minnesota Lynx could be undefeated this year. Connecticut's the only team that's undefeated. The Lynx lost to Connecticut in overtime by 1 point. And Nafisa Collier said that the reason they lost, she was 5 of 9 on the free throws. Sure. But Connecticut's undefeated this year. The Lynx could have been. They are a team. I believe they have 2 plus 30s on their team. I think like it may be just McBride, and then I think they have another player that's McBride's 31. They have another player on the bench that's 30 years old. But this is why I like the Lynx, because Chicago is a smidge younger than the Lynx. But the Lynx, all their players for the most part are like 4 years in the league, 4 or 5 years. So they have the experience under their belt, and they're not rookies. And so they know what to do. And they have a coach that's the Olympic coach that's won 4 WNBA titles. So the Lynx, they don't really miss the playoffs. They don't. They were in it last year. They took Connecticut to 3 games in the first round. This is the other team that I like, that I feel could do like one of those that could do the damage. Last year we said it was Washington. If they would have had like a healthy season, they shouldn't have been a 7 seed. If they were slipped into like a 6 or a 4 or 5, they could have, but they played the Liberty and we escaped that one, honestly.
Yeah.
But the Lynx in Chicago, I think the Lynx are going to have win more games than Chicago, but they're someone that I'm going to be watching very closely this year. Um, they started off the game. They made 14 threes. They were on fire in the first quarter. At one point, the Liberty went from the end of the first quarter to the beginning of the second quarter, where they had like a 7 minute and 20-second drought with no points. And again, I was watching it being like, I could score. Not true, but that's how I felt. And then the Liberty
Yeah.
made a run to get 4 at halftime, and then they get down by 8 in the third quarter, and then just they can't catch up. And it was not pretty. They were detached defensively and looked like and then they would shoot rush shots offensively. But I'm going to throw out something. You said that Sloot had that bad game, or she didn't have any points, had 3 turnovers and 4 assists, a few games before. She was the catalyst in that second quarter. Stewie had like a little run on hers offensively. Sloot had like 3 steals within about 3.5 minutes that helped to get them back in the game at halftime. So I was like, look at you, old girl, because she's the oldest on the team, doing it, still had some pep in her step, and that made me just like so happy because they needed that. Like you need these little moments at the beginning of the season, even in losses, to just kind of like figure some things out and like kind of get back in it. Despite the loss, there was moments where they were so good, and then it was just this. So that's how it's been. They've had really good moments, but in these losses, it's like it's here and then it drops, and it just needs to level out instead of like dropping so much. And that's how I felt this Lynx game was. And the Lynx were across the board, had so many scorers that like
Yeah.
their leading scorers, 2 of them had 15 points, and they win, and that's it because everybody contributed so well. That's why I like the Lynx. Who's going to score? We don't know.
Yeah,
Besides
that's the
Nafisa.
thing that
Nafisa.
of course. That's the thing that stuck out most from this game is that there seemed to be a lot more leveling with the Lynx in terms of scoring, contribution, assists, steals, everything really across the board. It was just a lot more consistent throughout the entire roster, not just the starters. One player that I also particularly like is Heidemann. I absolutely love the way that she plays. I love like her speed. Um and yeah, I think that's the thing that sticks out the most from that game is just the consistency throughout the roster in comparison to the Liberty, where we have 2 starters on only 4 points. Like that's a poor show. You need to be able to rely on your starters, and I just it was just not apparent in that game. Like there was no consistency from our team. We had high turnovers. We had a very low shot percentage, only 24% from three, in comparison to the Lynx shooting 50% from three,
Yeah.
and then 38% from the field in comparison to their 47. It makes all the difference. It's just we weren't consistent, we weren't as concise as the Lynx, and I think we just need to start just looking to provide that consistency in the team. It's a tough one.
You have Bridget Carlton gets a start, and she's been one of those that can come in and do things, and then Alana Smith, Nafisa Collier, Caleb Bride. You had 14 points from Carlson, 15 points from Alana Smith, 15 points from Nafisa, 14 points from Caleb McBride, and I'm just like, that's just insane. You have 4 players that are, like, right on the same, you know, and then Courtney Williams has 7, Heidemann comes in, has 5, and they literally replaced each other, so there's 12 points from your point guard combined, and then everybody else that came in just did what they needed to. And just team-wise, just good on Minnesota, but this is where I find it interesting how Cheryl Reeves will kind of build her team because Alana Smith had her best season of the year last year in Chicago. She comes up to Minnesota. Courtney Williams is a consistent player for Connecticut, had that one season in Atlanta, went to Chicago last year. Now she's with Minnesota. So you have these 2 Chicago players. They're like, oh, we're going to go to Minnesota together. And I don't know, it just seems to be working. And I look at this, besides Nafisa, there's not an all star on this team besides Nafisa. And it's just, that's how it's going to be. It's just going to be who's going to do it tonight. And then also, they're on the all rookie team last year, Diamond Miller's hurt. And so she's not even playing. So then you have another athletic player that's out. But they did get Dorky Uhas back, who's getting better and scoring as a big. But Minnesota's going to be one where I don't know how you're going to prepare for it. With you never know who's going to score. But to get back to the Liberty, Fibich had 11 points, and this is the first time that I feel like she's gotten more than like significant time at like points in the game when you need her. She hit 2 threes that helped that second quarter run to get back. So, yeah, I'd like to see her play more. I'd like to see Sabali play more. I think she's been effective when she's in. Um, it's just we need more of the bench. And like I said last year, we had Kayla and Marine, and when Steph didn't have her ankle injury, Steph would come in and do well. Um, yeah, we need to use the bench more. Our starters are good, but let's use the bench a little bit more. We'll see what Fibich can do, and yeah, we'll see.
Yeah, I agree. I think it can't just also be on the starters. Like it's natural that a player or two are gonna have a bad game every once in a while, and that is when you really need your bench to step up. I think we had that kind of solidified last year with like Johannes. She would come in and be that kind of fire. She was just used to come on, change the tempo of the game and just get everybody kind of hyped up again, even if it wasn't necessarily her scoring. I just don't really feel like we have that quite on our bench this season. I think it's something that can be developed, but I do think that's a significant thing that we are missing out on.
Well, and it's like Marine would come in and be ready to score, and Kayla would be ready for defense and rebounding. And those two were like a double-headed monster with how they played so differently. Because you had like Kayla's like strong bull gonna come at you and just have like all that, and then Marine's all the finesse. So we're missing that finesse from the bench, and so maybe Fibich can be that with Kayla Thornton if we can get that in there. Kennedy Burke is another player that I think is like Kayla Thornton. Yeah, they're not necessarily shooters. They're not bad shooters, but they're not like Marine shooters. That sounds like military when I say that, but we know what we mean. Like, you
Yeah.
know what I'm talking about when I say Marine. But we just need a little bit more from the bench, just for the energy of it. I need to rebound better. But the statistics that I think are going to be, we're going to see how this goes the rest of the year. Right now, the Liberty are shooting 30% from three. Last year it was 37%. That's huge. The
Yeah.
turnovers are up, the three-point percentage is I think shot. And I would like to see us drive and not think to kick, but drive and then hit a mid-range. That's one reason why I like Courtney Williams so much. She's one of the best mid-range shooters. Like, let's drive and take a mid-range. Right? It's better than a kick out for
I
a missed three or a turnover on the kick out.
Yeah, I feel like the art of scoring a mid-range shot has been so lost in basketball in general in recent years. I think we go from, all these big athletic finishes at the basket and everyone wants to shoot threes, that the very let's take it back to basics, let's go back, let's nail our mid-range, let's make sure that we have players that are actually not just okay, we have a driver, okay, we have a three-point shooter on the team. It's like I always feel like those are the two kind of cornerstones on teams now. It's like we have a strong athletic driver, we have a three-point scorer. We need more consistent mid-range scorers. It's such an underrated shot. And on that point that you're making as well about kicking the ball out, this is my biggest, not to be more negative, but this is my biggest frustration with Courtney Vandersloot, is she always drives in, and I'm like, "Just take the layup, just take the layup." And it's like she
Just
doesn't.
take
I think maybe because she knows of her height in comparison to others, maybe I'm also being silly and she'll get absolutely swatted, but to me, I just see it, I'm like, "Take the layup, take the chance," but she stops, she breaks the flow of the play, and then she goes and kicks it out, and I'm like, either dribble and, keep driving or don't stop right under the basket, keep the flow of the game, you know?
It's like I want her to stop about, like, 8 feet away because they think she's going to the basket and then just have, like, a nice little pull-up. Like, just do
Yeah,
that,
yeah,
you know? I know
exactly.
it's low on her height, yeah, because she is the shortest on the team.
Yeah,
Yeah, but we can see that. Yeah, just a little pull-up. Yeah, but yeah, the mid-range shot, my friend that I mention all the time, my friend Marty, says that when Steph Curry came along, basketball completely changed, and it did. I mean, look who one of our favorite players is, and I don't mean ours, I mean the world's. She made 500 and some three-pointers in college in 4 years, and then her other main shot was layups. Like, I mean, like, she had a lot of layups, but she has a mid-range, but, when you're shooting logo threes and those are the things that are getting on highlight reels, and you have Steph Curry doing that, and then, last year, everybody celebrated Sabrina breaking a WNBA record with the most threes in a season, and then, they NBA needs more eyes on the All-Star game, so they invite Sabrina to get more people to watch because she kills it at a three-point contest, and then, it was like one shot away from winning the three-point
yeah.
contest from it range. These are things where those are where our attention goes, and I'm gonna throw out some misogyny here, is people are just like, "Oh, they don't wanna watch women's basketball because they don't dunk," but your favorite, one of the biggest NBA players in the world is Steph Curry. He does not dunk, he shoots threes, so
Yeah.
shut up.
Yeah,
So say that about dunking, I was like, "But, I mean, as Together has said, everyone watches women's sports, so, they don't have that excuse anymore." But we need some mid-range. Like, mid-range gets it done, guys. Come on now, you know?
yeah,
It's something that I wanna see more, and I feel like I think I always like watching Paige Beckers because I know she can make threes and does that, but Paige has got a really good in college, has got a really good mid-range game and uses it.
yeah,
So
yeah,
that's something that I really can see, some people do. I know that Grace Berger, who is on the Indiana Fever team, she's a mid-range shooter. Courtney Williams is a mid-range shooter. And one of my favorite things is I know Asia Wilson can make threes, but Asia Wilson from about 18 feet is money, money, money.
money.
It is ridiculous. When my mother is like, "Yep, yep, yep," yeah, it's just
Yeah,
Asia from mid it's automatic, and I know Ryan Ruocco always says on all his broadcasts, but when my mom's like, "Yep, she makes those all the time." She just that's what my just says it like it's the fact because it is. She's like, "Oh, yeah, she makes those." Yeah,
that's for
I
sure.
think that may Asia Wilson may be the best mid-range shooter in the W.
Yeah.
That's I mean, I
I
actually am gonna say that right now. Asia Wilson's the best mid-range shooter in the W.
I'm not gonna disagree with you there. I think and I think there's a reason why she is she has consistently been a contender for MVP is because she has nailed
Yeah,
the mid-range. It's a
yeah.
lost art form.
Well, and one of my favorite broadcasters, Debbie Antonelli, always talks about like 3 level scoring. Can you score at the basket? Can you score in the mid range? Can you score at the 3 point line? Yeah, Asia can. It's
Yep,
like she tied
she
tied
can.
the record for
She can
most
do it
points
all.
in the WNBA game. She wasn't shooting many threes, guys. She made 19 free throws and then every mid range and some like shots in the paint, guys. I think she had I don't know if she had 2 threes in that game, but she wasn't scoring. She wasn't doing it making threes. So hey, what's up? Yeah, but yeah. So I mean, I got to stop complimenting the aces, right? I can't give them any more
Oh yeah,
fodder. They
you can't be caught
they don't
doing that.
compliment us.
No.
Yeah, I'm not complimenting the aces. I'm complimenting Asia. There's a difference.
Yeah.
There's a difference. Yeah, yeah. So I was like, and Asia's getting a shoe. I'm gonna throw that out there.
And
Asia's getting a shoe.
she's
So
getting her shoe. It's about time.
she's getting.
Honestly, it's
Yeah,
about
that's
time.
yeah.
I also
I'm
feel like
I'm ready.
it's just gonna be really cool. I'm really excited to
I'm
see
ready.
it.
I want to see. Let's see if I can be right on this one. Something with that Nike swoosh and like an apostrophe above it would be something on the logo for like Asia's apostrophe in her name. That has to go on the
Oh
logo of
yeah.
her shoe, right?
Yeah,
Fine.
there
There
has
has
to
to be
be
some
something like
apostrophe
that.
near.
Yeah,
Yeah,
for
or
sure.
like it's an A. It's an A, and then how the swoosh goes. That's where the apostrophe is, and you could have her name on it in some way, like
Ooh,
or the
yeah.
yeah. The point of the swoosh where it curls up is the apostrophe for that. I'm gonna go be a shoe designer. I need to talk to Michelle on the WNBA podcast. She works for Nike. Be like, I have ideas.
Yeah, I have ideas.
Don't listen to me. Yeah,
No,
just,
I'm such a
just
nerd for, like, shoes and everything, so I'm so excited to see what kind of shoe she comes
yeah.
out with.
It's gonna be good. It's gonna be good. I mean, and then just throwing back to the original W where Cheryl Swoops had air swoops. I'm just throwing that out there just so I can say that I met Cheryl Swoops this year. I got a picture with her. Talked to her for a solid minute, so I'm just gonna brag about that. I
As
didn't
you
mean to go
should.
there, but after I said the shoes, I'm gonna do it. I'm
No,
gonna do it.
as you
Yeah.
should.
Maybe I should.
That's an
Yeah.
accomplishment.
I'm just gonna start changing this instead of this picture of me and Pat. I'm just gonna put different pictures of me up every
Just change it
podcast, and then throw them up here
every
for the
episode
video.
and
Yeah.
just
You.
segue into, "Anyway, me and this
Anyway,
person."
just right here. Just hold it up with my hand. Yeah, that'd be good. But yeah, Asia with the shoe. All right. So, dream documentary. So let's hope that somehow me talking about things can get a Steph Dolson, Sid Colson, sometime broadcasting experience at the All Star game. And as I say that, I feel like I was on the right track because Teresa Plaisance and Sid Colson had their own TV show, which is very much, I feel like, what a Steph Dolson, Sid Colson would have been. So if Steph and Sid would have been on the same team, it would have been right there. But instead, it was
Yeah.
Plaisance. By the way, if you haven't watched that Sid and T show, it's pretty funny. So that's that. So maybe we can get a Sid Colson, Steph Dolson because just the rhyming is good and their personalities. And then the other thing is Sammy Whitcomb as your hashtag last year, Gummy Whitcomb. And one of the male
Me with
coaches in the NCAA tournament dropped his gum on the floor
Yeah.
and he was pushing and put it back in his mouth. And who liked that post? None other than Sammy Gummy Whitcomb. So yeah,
Annie Gummy
just all
Wickham.
kinds of things. Gummy Whitcomb. We'll see what the hashtags are going to be this year. Uh,
Honestly,
hashtag Ellie for
that's
All Star MVP.
yeah. I
Ellie's
think
going to be the All
that's the
Star
title for the
MVP.
episode. All-Star MVP.
All
Yeah,
Star
I
MVP.
think
Ellie, All Star MVP.
I'm excited to see what kind of new hashtags we're gonna come up with this year.
Sure. I don't have
Much
anything right
thinking.
now. It's gonna happen though. Yeah,
No,
it's
it
gonna
has to
happen.
happen
Yeah.
naturally
Ellie
though.
also
Yeah.
yeah. It's like it doesn't happen. Like I think it's hashtags who did Stacia meet? Who is Stacia met? So she
Yeah.
run the Cheryl Swoops. Hashtag who is Stacia met? Yeah.
Yes. I like it.
Meta yeah, meta food people. Who is Stacia met? Just throw in that one there. Yeah. That'd be good. Or hashtag which Batman memorabilia is gonna go in this episode.
Yeah,
You gotta
I
do
like
that.
that one.
Yeah.
Hashtag Simpsons. We need something to do with the Simpsons too.
I think so. I was like, maybe not Ellie for All-Star MVP, but hashtag Simpsons Predictions. That should be
Yeah.
that could be the title of the episode. Yeah,
Yeah.
the Simpsons
Simpsons
there we go, the
Predictions.
Simpsons Predict. Simpsons Predictions.
Yeah.
Yeah, there we go. When we send that to James, he's gonna be like, "What is happening
What?
between you 2?" Be like,
Yeah.
"We haven't spoken for a long time, so that's what's happening."
Yeah.
Yeah, Simpsons Predictions. Alright, well, so the Liberty are 4 and 2, they're hanging out, I believe, in 4th place in the standings, they're we'll see what happens. A lot of people, their commissioners kind of take the money last year. Hopefully, they can get another title because that's their only title was Commissioner's Cup. And get the WNBA title. That's what we want. But it's the WNBA. It gets more and more competitive every year, and thankfully, we know where there's going to be 2 more teams in the Bay Area and Toronto. We're international now. Go W! And then looking for 2 more teams by 2028 so we can get back up to 16. But this sport is continuously growing, and we are just happy to be a part of it. Talking about the Liberty because they are awesome, and they're going to continue to be awesome this year. Kirsten, how
Yeah,
awesome are the Liberty going to
absolutely.
be? Yeah,
On a scale of 1 to 10, probably like 11. That's how awesome they're gonna be.
it's an 11. It's an 11. Yeah, they're going to be. Yeah, I just almost dated myself by saying something I'm not going to say it. I'll tell you after. But yeah,
Okay.
the Liberty 4 and 2. We'll see what happens. And we are recording this at the end of May. So by the time the next recording happens, we will be into June. So happy Pride out there for everybody when it hits off on Saturday. And we'll be back. We'll be back soon. Kirsten's gonna be back, I think, in a couple weeks because she's gonna have a happy, happy time on a holiday. And I'll be back next week with somebody else talking about the Liberty. And we don't know who that is yet, but we will see you in a few weeks, and I will see you next week. But until then, for Across the Pond Liberty, I'm Stacia.
And I'm Kirsten.
All right. See you guys later.
You guys.